It was a sunny, warm afternoon when Tasha stepped into a high-end Clothier in the heart of the city, excited to find the perfect outfit. She had heard glowing reviews of this boutique and thought it would be the perfect place to shop for a dress for an upcoming event. Little did she know, this visit would change her day in ways she never expected. Are you excited to dive into this story? We sure are. Tell us where you're watching from in the comments below. We love hearing from our viewers and can't wait to know your thoughts as the story unfolds. The store was pristine, with rows of well-organized clothing on elegant display, each piece more eye-catching than the last. The soft hum of ambient music played in the background, blending seamlessly with the gentle rustle of fabric and the occasional chime of the front door as other customers came and went. Tasha, looking effortlessly chic in her tailored blazer and dark jeans, walked through the store with a sense of purpose. She scanned the racks, admiring the colors and fabrics, and began selecting a few dresses to try on. As she picked up each item, she felt the excitement of imagining herself in something new, something special for an important upcoming meeting, one that would take place at the White House. While Tasha carefully examined the clothes, Bradley, the store's security guard, observed her from the corner of his eye. He had been working at the store for over a year and had become accustomed to the usual clientele. But there was something about Tasha that triggered a sense of suspicion in him. He wasn't even sure why. He had seen people of all backgrounds walk through the door before, but today something about Tasha's presence made him uneasy. Maybe it was the fact that she had been there for quite a while, picking out multiple dresses and trying them on, and maybe it was the way she held herself, calm, composed, confident. Or maybe, as was often the case with people who thought like Bradley, it was simply that she didn't fit the mold of the typical shopper in the store. Bradley, with his preconceived notions, began to form an idea in his head. She was acting suspiciously. Maybe it was the fact that she'd been in the store longer than most customers. Maybe it was because she seemed to be looking at the most expensive dresses, the ones that could easily be stolen. Why is she taking so long? What is she really doing here, he thought. Bradley's mind wandered to thoughts of theft, though he had no evidence of wrongdoing. She doesn't belong in here, he thought to himself, letting the seeds of doubt grow. As Tasha headed toward the restroom, Bradley's suspicions deepened. He watched her closely as she walked into the bathroom, holding a blouse she hadn't been carrying when she first entered. What is she doing with that blouse, Bradley wondered. Why would she take something like that into the bathroom? It seemed odd, and Bradley, already convinced something was wrong, took it as further evidence that she was trying to steal. He didn't have any real reason to think she had stolen anything, but in his mind, his doubts were confirmed. She's hiding something, Bradley thought, his heart racing as he prepared to confront her. He wasn't going to let it go. His sense of duty as a security guard, and, perhaps more so, his bias, pushed him to act. Tasha emerged from the bathroom a few moments later, blouse in hand, and Bradley's suspicions intensified. I've got to stop her now, he decided, marching over to her without a second thought. What will happen when Bradley confronts Tasha? Will she be able to explain herself, or will she face more unjust treatment? As Tasha walked back toward the clothing racks, her mind focused on the dresses she still needed to try on, she suddenly felt a presence behind her. A chill ran down her spine as she turned to see Bradley, the security guard, walking toward her. His face was unreadable, but the stiff way he held himself made her nervous. She hadn't noticed him following her, but now he was blocking her path. "Excuse me, ma'am," Bradley said in a stern tone, his voice cutting through the soft music playing in the background of the store. Tasha's stomach sank. She had been enjoying her shopping, but now it felt like something was terribly wrong. "I need to check your belongings." Tasha blinked, taken aback. "What?" she said, her voice a mix of confusion and disbelief. She looked around, hoping the other customers would intervene, but no one seemed to be paying attention. The store manager was nowhere in sight. She glanced at the other shoppers, but they seemed to avoid eye contact, possibly too afraid to get involved. "I'm going to need to check your bag and the clothes you're holding," Bradley insisted, his tone firm. Tasha felt a knot tighten in her stomach as she instinctively clutched the dress she was holding closer to her chest. She had done nothing wrong, and yet here was a man accusing her with no explanation, no reason. "I'm sorry, but I don't understand. Why do you need to check my things? Tasha asked, trying to stay calm, though she could feel her heart pounding. The nerve of this man to question her in such a way, to treat her like a criminal without any cause. She couldn't wrap her mind around it. Bradley crossed his arms, his eyes narrowing. You've been in the store for a long time, ma'am, and I've been watching you. I think you've been acting suspicious. His words stung, and Tasha felt a heat rise in her chest. Suspicious? She repeated, barely able to believe what she was hearing. I've just been shopping. I haven't done anything wrong. But Bradley wasn't listening. His assumptions had already taken root, and no explanation could shake his determination. I've seen you pick out several items and then take something into the bathroom, he said, his voice a little louder now. That's not normal behavior. You've got to understand, I'm just doing my job. Tasha's face burned with humiliation as she realized what he was implying. I went to the bathroom because I was trying on a few things and didn't want to leave the blouse in the fitting room, she said, trying to explain. It's not what you think. But Bradley wasn't interested in hearing her side of the story. He was convinced that she was hiding something, and that was all that mattered to him. Please, I'm just trying to shop here, Tasha said, her voice trembling now. This isn't fair. I haven't stolen anything. I don't even know why you're treating me like this after all. I'm still within the store. Bradley's eyes didn't soften. If you're innocent, you wouldn't mind a quick search, he said coldly. He stepped closer to her, and his hand reached out as though he was going to grab her. Tasha stepped back, her heart racing. No, I'm not letting you touch me, she said firmly, her voice shaking with both fear and frustration. She wanted to scream, to tell him how wrong he was, to demand that he stop. But the store was silent except for their conversation, and Tasha realized how powerless she felt. She was alone in this situation, and no one else seemed to care enough to intervene. She wasn't just a shopper. She was a black woman in a store being treated as a criminal without any reason other than her appearance. Bradley's insistence grew stronger. Come with me. I'll need to check your bag and your clothes. He moved toward her, as though he had the right to drag her to the back of the store. Tasha felt a lump form in her throat, but she held her ground. I'm not going anywhere with you, she said, her voice more steady now, though her chest was tight with the pressure of the situation. Officer Bradley stepped closer, his hand reaching for Tasha's jacket. I'm going to need you to remove this, he said harshly, his grip firm. Tasha recoiled in shock. What? No, you can't do this, she cried, trying to back away. But Bradley didn't listen. You're hiding something, and I'm going to find it. His fingers gripped the fabric, attempting to pull it off her shoulders. Tasha's heart raced with humiliation and fear as she fought to protect her dignity. Before things could escalate further, the store manager appeared. He had been alerted by a few of the customers who had witnessed the tension between Tasha and Bradley. The manager's face immediately darkened as he assessed the situation. Bradley, what's going on here? He asked, his voice calm but firm. Bradley, his confidence faltering slightly, began to explain himself. She's been acting suspicious. I'm just doing my job. But the manager wasn't convinced. Suspicious how? He asked, his tone now rising with a hint of anger. She's been shopping, not stealing. You can't just treat customers like this. Tasha stood, still in shock, as the manager looked at her with a concerned expression. Are you okay? He asked gently. Tasha nodded, but her mind was spinning. She had never felt more violated, more helpless, and it was all because of a security guard's prejudice. The store manager, seeing the distress on Tasha's face, stepped forward with authority. Bradley, what is going on here? He demanded, his voice sharp but calm. Tasha, still standing near the entrance of the small back room, felt the tension hanging in the air. Her heart raced with anxiety, her chest tight with the weight of the humiliation she had just experienced. Bradley, now caught off guard by the manager's sudden intervention, hesitated for a moment. His earlier confidence had evaporated. I've been watching her, he stammered, trying to explain himself. She was in here too long, and I saw her with that blouse. She took it into the bathroom, and now I'm sure she's hiding something. The manager's eyes flickered with disbelief. He turned to Tasha, his expression softening. Is this true? He asked, though he already had a sense of what was going on. Tasha nodded slowly, her eyes wide and filled with frustration. Yes, I took the blouse into the bathroom, she said, trying to explain. but only because I was trying on a few dresses. I didn't want to leave it in the fitting room and have it get lost. I didn't steal anything." Her voice was firm now, despite the sting of the situation. She hadn't done anything wrong, and it hurt to be treated like a criminal. The manager looked back at Bradley, his expression now a mixture of disbelief and anger. "She's just been shopping, Bradley. She hasn't done anything suspicious. You can't just assume people are stealing based on their behavior. After all, she's still within the store." Bradley's face flushed with embarrassment as the reality of the situation began to hit him. The truth was clear, yet he couldn't bring himself to fully accept it. "But she was acting strange," he muttered, his voice trailing off as he realized how foolish he sounded. The manager let out a long sigh, rubbing his forehead. "Bradley, you need to understand something," he said, his voice serious. "You can't judge people based on assumptions or stereotypes. It's not your job to police people's actions without cause. I'm sorry, but this behavior is unacceptable." The room fell silent for a moment, and Tasha could feel the weight of the words hanging in the air. Finally, the manager turned to Tasha, his voice softening. "I'm so sorry this happened. It shouldn't have. You're free to go, and I'll make sure this is taken care of. Please, if you'd like, I can give you a discount on your purchase as a small gesture of goodwill." Tasha, still shaken, nodded gratefully. She didn't know if a discount would make up for the emotional toll the situation had taken on her, but it was something. As the manager called Bradley to the back to have a private conversation, Tasha stood there, trying to compose herself. She felt like she had been wronged, but there was a part of her that felt empowered. For the first time, she had been treated with some level of support in the midst of such injustice. But what she didn't know yet was that this wasn't the end of the story. Tasha wasn't just any shopper. She had connections, powerful ones. As she checked her phone, she saw a message from her assistant. "Tasha, the White House is waiting for you. The meeting starts soon?" Tasha felt a wave of realization hit her. She wasn't just any customer. She was the one with influence. And Bradley had made a huge mistake by assuming she didn't belong in that store. The store manager, still visibly upset by the situation, walked with Tasha toward the front of the store. Tasha was trying to calm herself, but the events of the past few minutes had left her shaken. She had never imagined that something as simple as shopping for a dress would turn into such a traumatic experience. The anger still simmered in her chest, but there was something else too. The realization that she had been unfairly judged simply because of the way she looked. As they reached the front of the store, the manager turned to Tasha, his expression sincere. "I'm deeply sorry for what you've been through," he said. "I'll make sure this never happens again. Please feel free to take whatever you need. We'll make this right." Tasha nodded, her heart still heavy. She didn't know if a simple apology could undo the hurt she felt, but it was a start. "I appreciate it, but I don't know if an apology can fix what's been done." Her voice was steady, but she felt exhausted, like she had just run a marathon. As Tasha turned to leave the store, still reeling from the humiliation she had just endured, her phone beeped. She looked down at the message, her heart skipping a beat. It was from her assistant. "Ma'am, the security team is here to escort you. They've arrived ahead of the meeting." Before she could process the message, the store doors swung open and an entourage of Secret Service agents stepped inside. They were dressed in sharp suits, a clear indication of their authority. Bradley's eyes widened as more and more agents entered, their presence filling the store with an undeniable sense of power. The store manager froze. He had no idea that the woman he had just witnessed being treated unfairly was someone of such importance. Officer Bradley, still standing off to the side, looked completely stunned, his face draining of color as the agents walked past him. His mind skipped as the realization hit him. He had just accused someone from the White House of being a thief. The bystanders who had witnessed the scene were now murmuring amongst themselves, shocked by the sudden change. She was surrounded by an entire security detail, and it was a powerful reminder to everyone in the store of just how wrong the cop has been. Before she could leave, the store manager stopped her. "Please, let me handle the rest of this." He walked over to Bradley, who was standing near the security desk looking uncomfortable. The manager had already told him what needed to happen next. Bradley was about to realize the gravity of the mistake he had made. Tasha wasn't just any ordinary shopper. She was a high-level government official, and today she had walked into this store for a simple errand. But now, thanks to Bradley's actions, she had become part of something much bigger. She was more than just a customer. She was someone with connections and influence. And the truth was about to be revealed in ways Bradley couldn't have anticipated. Just as Tasha was about to leave, the manager caught up to her. "I'm so sorry again for the way you've been treated," he said. Tasha looked at the manager, her expression serious. "I appreciate that, but it's not just about him losing his job. It's about making sure this doesn't happen again, to anyone. People like Bradley shouldn't have the power to treat others with such disrespect." The manager nodded in agreement. "You're right, and I'll make sure to take the necessary steps to ensure the store learns from this experience. It's time for real change." The days that followed saw Bradley facing the consequences of his actions. The store quickly conducted an investigation, and it was revealed that his behavior had been fueled not by concern for security, but by injustice and prejudice. The store issued an apology to Tasha, but the damage was already done. Tasha's influence wasn't just a matter of having connections. It was about making sure that justice was done. News of the incident spread, and public outrage began to mount. Social media was flooded with messages of support for Tasha, and calls for accountability grew louder. Bradley was eventually fired, and the store implemented a series of new policies aimed at combating racial profiling and ensuring that customers were treated with fairness and respect. As for Tasha, she used her platform to advocate for systemic change. She didn't just let this incident fade away. Karma had struck, and it wasn't just about Bradley losing his job. It was about raising awareness, pushing for action, and making sure that no one else would ever have to go through what she had experienced. Tasha's strength and resilience became a beacon for those who had been unjustly treated, and her story inspired others to stand up against bias and discrimination. If you were moved by Tasha's story and believe in the power of standing up for justice, don't forget to hit that subscribe button. It's like locking the door to a treasure chest full of great stories. Drop a comment below and let us know where you watch from. We'd love to hear your thoughts on the twists and turns of this story.